Matt. How are we
Hello.
doing today?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good. Matt, what about you? You're very colorful, and I realized that Callum needs some colors now because
Yeah, I've just come back from the future and it's not any better.
Your hat is like a bit psychedelic. It's like making my eyes. It's very cool.
we should have some disclaimers probably today during on the YouTube watch, but there won't be any more, hopefully, or I don't know, special effects during the episode. It will be a little bit traveling across the time, but we were all saying before we went live that we would love to get back to past sometimes to get some things fixed. But how was your week, Matt, from your perspective? Busy week?
Yeah, not too bad. I've been doing some of these blog posts, so we can get into that discussion later on. But yeah, bit of blog post, bit of bug fixing.
Yeah. And we'll be speaking about time, and time flies, guys, right? Time flies extremely fast, and we can start from the most recent blog post and announcements from the Umbraco side, which is Umbraco 11 release candidate. And we all discussed it before we went live as well, that we don't know too much about it because it was too fast. We haven't had enough time to play around with 10.3 and the other ones. So it's 11 already.
Yeah, so the release candidate for this came out today. Of course, the actual release is scheduled for 6 weeks yesterday. It's for the 1st of December. But I guess the most notable change here is the block grid, because this was supposed to go in 10.3 and was delayed for a few reasons that they've said here, but it just gives them 6 more weeks to refine and apply some feedback, which I think is a good decision. So that's not in 10.3, it's now a V11 feature, but I think it's for the best. Although they did say, I don't know if this is in the blog post, they did say they're going to release a 10.4 version so that block grid does get in to V10, which then it's in the LTS version as well, so that's cool. Other than that, I don't know if there's that much really exciting. These major releases are becoming a little bit, I don't want to say boring.
Boring, predictable, on target, on time. No fun. No, but I think the .7 change is also huge, and again, that's also one of the changes that will desire some bumping up of the major version, and of course rich text editor. So still in the CMS context, and I believe I haven't checked code, but generally rich text editor in all of the previous version was very tightly coupled with Umbraco. There was all of these past configuration files that were overlapping and overriding some of the default TinyMC configuration. I'm very curious how it was done here and now with the updated version, because I don't know.
It made it very difficult to to build custom plugins and stuff for TinyMC, because it was so far behind that actually it's good that that's been updated to TinyMC 6, which isn't. I know there was a piece at the retreat a few years ago to try and see if they should replace that with something else. The conclusion was TinyMC is still the king of the RTE plugins. It's just we were on a really, really old version, and it's way better. So that's exciting. As Warren is saying in the chat as well, of course, there is the new UUI baked into the back office, actually from 10. Oh no, I guess it came with the block grid. It was supposed to be in 10.3, wasn't it? But I guess that's now in V11 too. So we have UUI, and we can start using those components in our packages, which is exciting. I know, Matt, you've got a lot of interfaces, let's say, in the back office. I guess that's maybe something you're going to have to start thinking about over the next year or so.
Yeah.
Or are you going to completely decouple your UI layer?
Probably not, because I think most of my packages are designed to be really look like Umbraco. Personally, that's where I've always liked them to be, that it's that seamless between the two. So yeah, we'll have to have a look at those and see what we can port over. Probably start with Construct. I think that'll be the easier one of the two to get going, but I haven't had the time to look at them yet.
Okay. So you were not traveling in time recently. What is the version of Umbraco that you've landed for a little longer recently?
I think it's gone back round. We've got to the end of ints, so we've overflowed.
How was it? Tell us more about it. No, but we can of course jump to the topic and the main topic also of our episode today. We and your series of the articles released on the Dev2. Tell us more about it, because it looks awesome, and of course again the branding, the theme, and everything around that. I haven't had a chance yet myself to read through them, even scan through them. So use as much time as you want to describe what it is and for who and what is hidden there.
It's all just a ploy because I did these doodles for a Dugfest talk ages ago, and I've never reused them.
I recall that talk had sound effects and everything as well.
It did. Can't get sound effects into blog posts, but yeah. I mean, of a similar nature, what you were saying there about UUI, obviously the biggest thing really for package developers next is the new back office UI. And I was originally on the back office team in the phase 1, but I didn't get onto the phase 2 team. So I don't know, I was just probably feeling a little bit left behind, and I wanted to try and, like, the whole point of trying to get onto that team was try and get yourself a head start and know what's coming, and hopefully have discussions about all the different tech that's being used and get a deeper understanding of those things, like, much earlier than is possible otherwise. But not being on that team, I thought, okay, well, the proof of concept's out, and that's now essentially the basis for the building of the Umbraco back office. So I thought I'd just spend some time and just go through all of that and, like, pull out all the things that I'm going to need to learn, what's different from what we currently have, what's all the new tech stack, what are all the terminologies, and also where are all the boundaries, because I think that's usually what I struggle with the most, is knowing, is this thing that I'm struggling with TypeScript issue? Is it a lit issue? Is it just ES modules or whatever?
Helps to know what's Google like to
exactly,
and go get help, or how do you know what's broken?
Yeah, so quite a bit of the terminology and tech that was in there is stuff that I'd heard about, but I still didn't really know those boundaries. So I wrote most of these articles probably for myself, in terms of just being able to figure that out and remember this stuff later on, because I'm going to need to come back to this over time, I think. But it was just figuring out those boundaries, and what I'm trying to do in these blog posts is just distill it down. I'm not saying these are like really thorough, like journeys into those topics. It's just these topics are there, the part of the back office UI, and what is the key thing that I need to know right now about those different things. So each of those blog posts is no more than like 2 to 5 minutes. Like, I looked down the list, and like 2 to 5 minute reads. So the really top level, high level, not going into massive detail, but it tries to give you that context of what it is and what it's there for. So like ES modules is imports and exports. That's all it is. Like, that's all that's responsible for. The context API, what does that mean in the back office? What's its job? What's its role? And kind of how do you work with it a little bit? So really, that's what I've tried to do with every post, is just distill what is it there for? Why is it even in the code base? Like, why is it being used? And then what's the simplest thing that you need to understand about it? Yeah. So really, that's all I've been trying to do, just initially going through the tech stack. There's 10 posts at the moment that I've managed to pull together on predominantly tech, and probably the context API is more concept, but I do want to keep going on. Like, there's still things like Playwright that I haven't written anything about. I want to write something about the new manifest file kind of setup and how that's going to work. And I'm sure there'll be more concepts that get put into place in the code base. So I've not been able to dive really deep into the back office code base yet. So as I go through, I'm sure I'll kind of spot new things that I think are worth people knowing and understanding. So
I'd liken this series to if you cast your mind back a number of years now when Stefan was working through Umbraco 8 and kind of architecting some of the concepts there, the new concepts that were introduced for us, such as components, composers, and the dependency injection stuff all around that. He had some really valuable blog posts that were they were still maybe primitive at the point they were written. Like some stuff changed between that and launch, but they were really good explainers of the key concepts, and people who didn't understand them, that was great. I had the pleasure of having a read through these books a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not a front end dev, and I think I do my best to understand the front end concepts in JavaScript. I'm not going to say I'm a terrible JavaScript developer. I can write JavaScript, but actually I don't know what the hell RxJS or any of these things are, and it's like actually having someone else explain them to me in as simple English as possible. As you said, ES modules, what does that mean when it's import export? When you boil it down to such a simple principle like that, it really helps. So I hope this is probably going to be a resource valuable for a long time that people glance back to, because in the next 2 years everyone's going to be doing these sorts of transitions from
I'm sure this will all end up being in the official documentation, so like I hope this actually becomes redundant in a sense, but this is, like I say, for me at the moment it's really just documenting my journey and giving me something to refer back to, but hopefully being useful to others, because I know it's early days. Like I hope none of it's seen as like a criticism or anything, that stuff's not there. The point is the new UI is really still in super early kind of implementation. So like my blog post might be quite volatile as well, in terms of there's no guarantee that the things I blogged about are necessarily going to stay. It's still growing, and I think HQ is still learning as they're implementing as well. So this is my understanding of where things are right now, and hopefully I'll just keep blogging about it as more stuff comes along and if changes come along.
I went to
I was going to say that the challenge is with kind of keeping it in sync, as you've said, and also with the Stefan's blogs too. It was like some of it never landed in the documentation, and that's why this blog post stayed relevant and valuable for us as the developers. So I think here the maybe not the goal, but definitely the mission would be to really take as much as you did and other people explored into the docs and make this journey easier for everyone, not only for those who will be struggling with the issues there, but generally setting it up, starting and doing everything else on top of that. Because I had recently a pleasure of doing something in Sanity CMS system, and this is also more like a Node.js, npm install console driven CLI apps. And it was such well documented that even I, whose front-end skills ended on jQuery, could have done that without any further support of documentation or anyone else. So this is something that we need to keep an eye on as a community as well, probably, because if we won't know how to do things, this will be relevant still, but might be a need to transition it to the official docs, as you've said, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And there'll be concepts in there as well that people don't need to know about, right? There's things like the inner workings of the back office. As an Umbraco dev, if you never intend to extend or modify that back office in any way, then it's fine. Obviously, Matt, you're in probably a very different position from most people in that regard, in that you've got a lot of different UI projects out there. But for like, if you don't need to know this, then don't worry about it. Like if you're not intending on doing a back office plugin, that's fine. And I'm assuming, again, we're still, as you said, Matt, early stages of implementation. I'm assuming even all of these concepts are probably going to be abstracted away quite nicely from a package dev's point of view. Like we're probably not going to know about,
potentially. I mean, I guess the thing that's always been shared about web components is that you could really develop things in whatever way that you want. So even though this is how Umbraco are doing the core back office, that isn't how you have to do it as a package developer. So I've been trying to figure out who exactly, like, I am documenting all of this, but maybe, so I think there's probably two audiences for it, which is somebody who wants to contribute in some way, probably in the future, to the back office and actually do some work in the back office, or I guess package developers that want to follow the same approaches and use the same use the same tooling. But yeah, so it's I don't know whether it'll be useful for everybody. Probably not. But right now it's useful for me for the understanding, and I think I will probably take the approach of follow along and use the same strategies and mechanisms that Umbraco do as well.
Just like with current package ecosystem, shall we say, one of the things that was I think is a nice feature of that package ecosystem is the ability to do some hacks occasionally. Was quite good, and a lot of that ecosystem is based on people doing hacks. Interceptors is the obvious example I can think of where Umbraco didn't give an extension point to replace something, so people have gone, I can just make sure that never gets loaded, for example. I guess the point I was going to make is people will work stuff out for themselves, and the community will sort of agree an approach and a pattern. Maybe that is to follow HQ, and maybe someone else will do other things. I know people often copy yourself or Kevin or Lee and the source of those packages to try and work out how stuff's done, and that may well be the case. Equally, we might find, as Umbraco will find, that they're in the middle of architecting this system. They may get to the end and realize that's way overkill or way too complex. They can simplify it or unnecessary, and we'll have the same process with packages. There'll be a sort of natural finding our place period of time. So maybe all of this is really relevant, maybe it's not. We'll have to wait and see, right? Who knows what 2 years looks well? You might, because you've been there, but you might know what 2 years looks like.
So if Matt is here with us today with this blog series, it means that we need to learn it, because it was there. But I was thinking about the extending back office course, right? Because that's kind of a really nice material for this kind of activities. And as you said, not everyone will be interested in extending back office. Most of the people still just use a CMS and what is there, or built by someone else. So it might be really good input material for the extending back office course, or generally setting up the standards of doing it somehow, and then seeing if this is the standard or this is the preferred way of doing things like that. So we will see and we'll find out, right?
I mean, some of it will always stay relevant, so especially the stuff on web components. So that will be relevant across the board. It'll come down to libraries and things that are not so relevant. And I think some of the concepts will be useful as well. So especially if you're going to want to work with Umbraco APIs, so things like the context API will be something that you will need to think about and learn about. So some of it will definitely be useful, some of it maybe not, but I guess that's for people to choose what they want to use.
And that's why people go to the blog posts, read them, see if that's relevant for your work or any of your plans for the future work. We'll share the link, of course, in the episode's description. Great effort, Matt, and generally a lot of work placed there. Even though it's 5-7 minutes, as you said, even by a quick scan of amount of code and examples, there is it looks like a really nice work done after the explorations did by yourself. So that's thanks for sharing it in behalf of everyone who will benefit from it.
Well, one thing I'd like to know before we move along is, did the Back to the Future theme come first, and then you went, what can I write a series about? Or did the topic come first, and then you made it work for today, being Back to the Future Day?
It was Back to the Future, because I was doing Back to the Front End, but actually I was going to release it a few days ago, but then Kevin reminded me that the 21st of October was Back to the Future Day. So I ended up holding off, and that, I think I only had one or two. I might have just had the intro that I was going to release, and he said, no, just wait. So then I ended up writing 10 posts in that time.
Very good. Well done.
Cool. So yeah, that's it. So let's explore it and let's find out if it will be relevant for the future. And I just asked the question on the chat, what people from the community would like to know about Umbraco from the future. That's something what I would be very curious about. So what would be interesting to find out from the future, Umbraco related? Let us know what you're thinking, people. Coming back to the present and now, maybe jumping back even to the past, because we mentioned Umbraco 11, but there is also 10.3 release being around us since officially yesterday. So yeah, 10.3, and as we discussed previously, the new editor was descoped and removed from the 10.3 release and other releases for now. And there's a huge discussion about it here, and not a huge discussion, but motivation of why it was done, and basically to get some more time to test out and find out the issues with it. But there is also a lot of other things released in 10.3. And guys, did you already have a chance to play with 10.3?
I did update a site to it yesterday, but I mean, I'm not doing anything that would be using any of the new stuff. Maybe copy data type would be quite helpful. Yeah, I'm not. There was, I think it may even be in this blog post, or it might have been something that was said on Slack, that a lot of these new features, if you're not going to use them, it doesn't matter. Like you don't know that they're there, and the update is just a bit more stability, hopefully some performance, bug fixes. So only these new features really matter if you're actually looking for them or using them. So the fact that the block grid's not in there isn't a problem, because no one was expecting the block grid to be in there, if that makes sense. It's not breaking anything for it.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? Did you play with 10.3 a lot?
No, the only interaction I've had is resolving a bug that was in vendor from it, but we got that done on the RC, so that's sorted.
Okay, yeah, I think it's just great to be able to start projects in the next greater and better version in general, as you said, Callum. So that's the need to check out for everyone. And if someone is still on early development phase of the project, just bump it up. It should be better, and a lot of bugs also were fixed during the RC period, and there is some, of course, elements added through the Hacktoberfest contributions, because maybe just a reminder, we are still in October, there's still Hacktoberfest happening, and there's a little bit of time still during the month to contribute during this action. So yeah, 10.3, and this information on release notes from Kevin Jump generally also highlights why there are some problems with it, right? Not the blog post update for Kevin Jump, from Kevin Jump, but there's new using 10.3 version. That's correct.
Yep, looks like it. I'm not really sure what it's adding. It looks like a couple of bug fixes and maybe a small feature there, the ability to ignore content items. But
yeah, notifications items as well. Nice. And one more package release from this week is uCaptcha update for forms from ARM that right now supports Cloudflare Turnstile. What it is, Callum, you probably know what it is.
Nope. I have no idea. Matt, do you know what Cloudflare Turnstile is?
Nope. Oh, I think actually Turnstile, I think, is the uCaptcha alternative, isn't it, from Cloudflare? It's their implementation of a capture tool.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is free capture. Oh, it looks really nice. Okay, cool, fine, nice. So Aaron's basically made that work with Umbraco forms then. Oh, very cool.
So now it seems like, because I misunderstood the package idea before, because I thought that this is purely for Google Captcha, but it's called uCaptcha, so it's a unified captcha for different kind of providers. So
uCaptcha is a thing, though, isn't it?
uCaptcha.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Have I misunderstood what this the whole point of this was? Maybe I have. I think I don't think it was the
HCaptcha and reCaptcha.
That's it. That's the one. So I thought it was just that initially, but it's good to see that Aaron's added another option there.
Nice. Yeah, as it can be proved, we now we didn't even know that Cloudflare has its own captcha mechanism, which is free and also good. So yeah, definitely worth checking it out. And speaking about hacking further, there's still an option to contribute together with the community, because Content Contribution Team is organizing the Umbraco Hacktoberfest hackathon. Virtual Umbraco Hacktoberfest hackathon.
2 minutes.
Yeah. So if someone is still having some energy and vibes to hack something out. The links will be, of course, there, and it's an online event, so everyone can join on Umbraco's Discord server too. Okay, and then some blog posts and things to highlight at the end. Seminars, we mentioned it last week, but they're getting closer. It's in November 8th, 9th, and 16th in Bristol, Manchester, and London. Umbraco Cloud and the team from Umbraco will share a lot of knowledge about updates and some new features in Umbraco Cloud for agencies and not only. And other option to learn more things will be on DK Festival, also in November, 24th November. So it's
Where's Umbraco Together, Marcin? It's in the links.
It's in the links. So tell me that you haven't added it right now.
It's in the link. It's in there. I literally just copied and pasted last week's link, so it's.
So
anyway,
I completely missed it. But yeah, it's here.
It's before DK Festival.
Yes.
But we've got a load of speakers announced. Some great HQers, community members, MVPs, etc., and more still to come. So very shortly, in fact. So
nice.
Yeah, buy a ticket if those talks look interesting. I think we've got a really nice lineup.
And is there still room for applying for speakers, or
there is, but in honesty, at this point, they're going to go onto a list of you'll be put on the second track, which is not a bad thing. Like if we get enough demand, we'll run 2 tracks. It's just I've committed to saying we'll run 1 really excellent track with as many talks as we possibly can, and then the ones that we really wanted to choose but we didn't have space for, if we can do a second track, we'll put on the second track. So I'll leave it open. People can still submit, but the track, the full first day, the single track is probably full at this point.
Okay, makes sense. So tickets now, and yeah, the event is happening on 17th and 18th of November. So
please buy tickets. It really helps my stress levels.
Yeah, and we don't want to see Callum stress. Definitely buy tickets, especially that the price is very attractive still for the event like this, and we know how it is hard to organize the events. So yeah, support and buy, secure your spaces. DK Festival is also happening in the week after then, right? So the program is still having some places to be announced, but there is also some speakers already described and talks that will happen there. Tickets for sale, and if someone is there, and maybe the location in Denmark will be closer to the location of the person, please check it out and attend as well. Festival season, that's exciting again, right? And it reminded me that we still can't have this website with Umbraco Festival somewhere.
It's gone, Marcin.
It's gone.
The other day, the website's offline. What I expect has happened is it was a V7 site running on cloud, and they probably sent us an email going, what's with this site? And we probably ignored the email, and the site might have been deleted. So we'll look into it.
At least one problem less. Oh, no.
Or maybe the DNS. They changed
maybe
the DNS.
Wasn't.
Someone mentioned to me the other day that it's offline, so we might be.
Good to know. So yeah, sorry for that, people. But yeah, we will be mentioning festivals during the umbraCoffees for sure. And yeah, that's the festivals. And one blog post from Sebastian, and I think I personally like this summaries of learnings that the team and Sebastian is personally experiencing after the Umbraco Lab sessions, and not only. And this time, Sebastian blogged about MIME types and static assets in Umbraco from the recent learnings out there. Still, quick. I personally, I need to work out something like this, because I have a lot of things like this for quickly blogging, noting down, as you've said, mainly for yourself or maybe some people around you. But generally, this quick blog posts, quick topics, small topics are really exciting to just find out and see, and generally also fix it for us when we will hit this kind of challenges. So I personally really like this, and thanks Sebastian for sharing this, and keep doing it. And of course, the video and all the other things are also coming out of there. And did you guys attend any of the sessions on Discord? Matt, are you on Discord? Because I know Callum is still probably not there. Are you on Discord, Matt?
I am. I'm probably more active on Slack, so I keep missing stuff that happens on Discord.
Yeah. Cool. So that's also good for people like us who might not attend everything in Discord yet, to catch up and see what is happening out there and what people are sharing and learning. So that's exciting. And last but not least, on our blog post list, on the list from today, it's something what I found last week, and it's from the YouTuber that we were mentioning a lot in the past, so John D. Jones. And it also, after watching the video about the book and also the video on his channel, we can realize why he was doing a lot of Umbraco videos, because he was writing this book. And that was there were topics that he was covering related with everything what's inside of this book. And I know a lot of people who prefers to learn from books instead of blog posts, code, videos, and documentation. It's an amazing opportunity for doing this. And John highlighted a lot of relevant topics about basically everything on Umbraco, from setting up the projects, modeling content, building pages, dealing with APIs, and even hacking some of the stuff on top of the Umbraco with recurring tasks, finders, and really exciting stuff. So a lot of knowledge. I need to check it out. I haven't checked it yet. The suggested price for the book is $19.
Yeah, it's one of those pay what you can afford models, isn't it? Which I think is a nice idea. And so the lowest you can go, I think, is $12.50. As it says, yeah, and recommends 19, but you can go more as well if you feel like it and feel like it was valuable, which is a nice model. I think a really nice idea.
I really like this slider here with information how much author earns from this one, because maybe in this case it's not the huge gap, but on the physical books, it's interesting to know, because I recently realized that it's less than one of the third of the book price that you earn from selling the book that you wrote. So it's interesting, and still it's for us who might benefit from contents of any books to support authors like this. And I think that John did an amazing work here, and I need to check it out content-wise if it's exactly what we are looking for. But I'm sure it is, because the blog post and also the videos that he shared were very high quality. There was a lot of information out there. So yeah, check it out. And we'll of course include all of the links in the episode description. And that's all from this list today. Anything else, guys, that you want to add to the list?
Yes.
I've got something interesting I heard, which Sebastian might tell me off for telling, but it's quite interesting.
We like leaks and exclusives.
Yeah. So apparently, I heard that the NuGet reserved keyword Umbraco, they've now allowing umbraco.community as community-based package prefix.
Yes.
So I think everybody previously has done things like our.umbraco, which I think the likelihood is that ours being phased out in favor of just like a developer site. So then it's kind of not an in-joke anymore. So I think that's quite interesting that umbraco.community is potentially available as NuGet prefixes.
It's funny because I think a few people have released our.umbraco.community before. I think Lars Erik is one of them. And there was a discussion about it on Twitter that led to Twitter thinking that umbraco.community was a domain name.
Right.
And I went, oh, it's not registered. So I told HQ and the Coma team. They didn't buy it. I reminded them again. They didn't buy it. So I own that one. It's fine, but like I bought it to make sure no one was gonna nick it. Umbraco.community, which you can go to, by the way, and buy your Umbraco Together tickets. I think it makes sense that would be a convention, wouldn't it? The our.umbraco.something comes from the kind of Java world, doesn't it? Where you'd have com.organization.project name. So it's a little bit odd. It's a bit weird. Microsoft's also gone down that route, haven't they? Like everything's Microsoft.extensions.something.
Yep.
But does it mean that Umbraco will still be able to validate the packages that will be named with this namespace, or it's getting opened for using?
No, but they don't get the blue tick. So we've done a similar thing with vendor. So we have vendor.contrib, which is publicly available for anybody to use, but any other vendor dot prefix is reserved. So Umbraco have done the same with Umbraco. So you couldn't use Umbraco for anything else because it makes it look official. But then umbraco.community is clearly there in for community-based contributed packages. So I think it'll be clear that it's not Umbraco. Like there'll be no blue tick on NuGet, and I think it's just going to be a case of HQ keeping an eye on it. And I think if there's any issues, it'd be pretty easy for them to speak to NuGet and get that resolved.
Yeah. Makes sense, and yeah, that's really good to know. So yeah, for all of those who still wants to hack some things during the Hacktoberfest and build some Umbraco community packages, it might be an opportunity to already target it with this prefix and make it all listed together out there. Yeah, so that's all. There's one more question. Does HQ have any docs on how packages should be named? Yeah, that might be really interesting to document, and also.
A few years ago, and Lee Kelleher wrote a blog post about the history of that Umbraco prefix, but it's all just been a sort of kind of unwritten rule or unwritten standard that people follow. So maybe there could be some docs now if Umbraco has a officially endorsed approach.
Yeah, maybe it's a contribution to the docs to be done during the Hacktoberfest as well. Cool. So thanks, Matt, for joining us. First of all, and keep us posted and updated with anything what you will find from the future and from the present and the past as well. Yeah, we'll all hopefully learn a lot. Still a week to hack during the Hacktoberfest, and we'll definitely highlight everything else Umbraco related on the next Friday. So thanks, Callum. Thanks, everyone. Like, subscribe, do all the other magic, and see you in the future, everyone.
Easy.
Bye-bye.